Everybody, for those who don't know, the Mr. Lux is now running Windows 10 and it's here to stay. I'm not happy with Windows 10 not having Windows Media Center. I think Microsoft's making a huge mistake by killing a product that it has the product itself has a monopoly. It's the only program out there that can actually record, play back and record TV shows from a digital cable device, such as a cable card. I'm pretty upset about that. But other than that, I do like Windows 10, so it's here to stay. But I'm not going to go with that Windows Media Center. That's a given fact. So, you may notice this empty space over here now. Some of you guys may know something from a prior video, but you guys remember how I used to have Staples paper box along with two other shoe boxes, one with power supply stuff and the other with tools. The speaker used to sit where that white bowl is sitting right now, but all that space has been freed up. All the stuff that was in there is now in the closet, and you can see that I have stuff everywhere. Place is still a mess, gotta clean it up, but why clean it up when you're busy working on a project? So anyways, you see this little motherboard here. Yeah, some of you guys may recognize it from previous videos. It's not the same exact motherboard, but it's one just like it. This is going to be the power plant of the new Windows Media Center box that's going to be in here. Yes, guys, we're going to be putting a whole separate computer in here for Windows Media Center. And I had to base it on something that would provide just enough processing power to run Media Center and playback TV and things like that. But I had to make it where it was very energy efficient. And that's where the AMD Zacate APUs come in play. They don't have a whole lot of processing power, but they have just enough. And the power draw is so freaking low. I mean, this motherboard in the stock case is practically passive cooled by a fan in the back. And I can grab this heatsink, and it's just, it's a little warm. We're sitting in the BIOS actually. Some modern motherboards actually run a CPU at maximum when you're sitting in the BIOS. And it's just a tad bit warm. Matter of fact, I guess you call this North Bridge on the APU. It's just a bit warmer, a whole lot warmer than the actual APU. System runs very cool. For crying out loud, in regards to power draw, the thing calls for a 65-watt power adapter, so it probably draws maybe 50 watts tops. Very energy efficient. That's something I gotta have if I'm going to have an extra computer. It's gotta be very energy efficient because we already have 4 desktops running in this house. We had the Mr. Lux, we had the Black Max, we also have the TiViBox in the living room. That's a full desktop, really. It's a full computer, and my grandmother now has a desktop in her bedroom. And we also have the other TiViBox Slim running, which is based off of this. So if we're going to have an additional machine, we got to make it energy efficient because my dad is pretty serious about the power bill. He does not like having high power bills, so we try to keep everything as efficient as possible. So now I got that out of the way, let me explain about this motherboard. The last video I had of one of these was when a person brought in a motherboard due to not having any video on their screen. And while the board started up and actually booted into Windows, it was just not putting out any video to the DVI or VGA cables. Very unfortunate. Even tried reflowing the motherboard and whatnot because I did end up getting to keep it for myself. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get it going, so I went ahead and recycled that board and kept the RAM, which is you can see here, and the rest of the guts out of the machine. What little guts they were. These compacts and HPs, these come in, don't have much of anything in them. And that's one thing I like about this board. It's very self-contained. You have 2 SATA hookups for an optical drive and a hard drive, or 2 hard drives if you wish, and it has built-in power supplies for those hard drives. A very, very self-contained board. So anyways, this board, I got it off of eBay. The listing basically stated sold as if it's dead. So it was only, the seller was only asking $10 for the thing. And $7 shipping, so I paid $17 for it. And basically, he didn't know if it worked or not because he wouldn't have a way to test it. Probably was missing the power adapter that goes with it, which, by the way, any sort of standard Toshiba laptop adapter will fit right to it just fine. So it's, Most of these boards on eBay are going for like probably $40 to $100. Some people like to rip you off with more than that, but not this seller, because he was selling it as it was dead. But it does in fact work. It works fine, no problems at all. I went ahead and applied new thermal paste to under this heatsink here to make sure we have maximum thermal transfer, and also did to this as well because the seller for some reason took the heatsink off. Probably thought there was a CPU under there, which that's typical. But yeah, so let's go ahead and show you what else we're going to have doing with this. Okay, buddy. Now you've seen the motherboard, let's see what kind of case we're putting this thing in. Some of you guys may remember this case. It was from a foreign part system that I got at least, I think, 2 years ago. I think it was probably in 2013 that I acquired this. It was a bare bones, it's a proprietary bare bones system, socket 478 Pentium 4. It was called the Cubic, powered by Soltech. That was the manufacturer of the motherboard and things like that. Paid $15 for the thing. Unfortunately, there's not a date on that sticker, so I don't know exactly when I bought it. I could look back on Q Computer Channel and get a fair idea. But so anyways, something interesting about this case is, I think it's from like 2003 or 2004. I do see 2004 9/15. I want to say, yeah, let's say September 15th 2004. That's a rough guesstimate as to when this thing was manufactured. At least the case was manufactured. Now what's so interesting about this thing, I mean, this is sort of a proprietary design case. Like the headers for the the power headers, your power LED, hard drive LED, power button, reset button, things like that. The pigtail was proprietary. Same goes for the firewire and the audio. So I'm not going to be using the audio or the firewire. I can easily rewire the or replace the buttons and LEDs for the front panel. Not too much to that. But what's so interesting about this whole case, even though it's a proprietary design, let's get it open for you so you can see. Which, by the way, this case is full aluminum. Doesn't weigh crap. See, Soltech ICQ technology. There's the drive caddy. Basically, inside this thing we have two 5 1/4 inch bays, a front 3.5 inch, and one 3.5 inch drive bay for a hard disk drive. So we got this little bitty USB header, which is not proprietary, but it's too small to reach the motherboard, so we got to replace that with a different one. I have plenty of those. See, this is the, I want to say it's audio, not sure. Yeah, audio. Even has wow, look at that. Has what I think, fiber? I'm sorry, fiber optic. Yeah. And there's our let's see, switching LED header, which is kind of proprietary design. Got to either change out this plug or just change out the whole thing. Just replace the LEDs and buttons completely. And here is the firewire hookup, which is non-standard. It doesn't look nothing, it looks similar to a USB hookup. But Tower Lux actually has a firewire port. But what's interesting, you can see I've done some modifications already using that previous motherboard that I had. Now, which, by the way, this is really this is a mini ITX motherboard, is really what you would call it. Now, as I mentioned, this case is from 2004, and look at this. it will bolt right up. Bolts right up just fine. 4 bolts, one here, one back there, and one over there. They bolt right in. So, you know, other than the slight modifications I'm having to do, this will be a pretty easy build, I think. Which here is the I/O shield for this board. What I'll be doing is after I get this thing all assembled, I'll go ahead and take some hot glue and just hot glue this sucker right in here. See, not too bad. There's a little bit of extra spacing, but of course this could be modded to better fit. That's roughly what it would look like. Because this thing is so proprietary, it didn't have a full-size I/O shield. It just ended right there, and the proprietary motherboard design had 2 PCI slots. Yeah, I think it was 2 PCI. It may be one of them was AGP. I can't remember for sure. But it had 2 expansion slots in a otherwise mini ITX case. Now I don't know if mini ITX was really even around in 2004. Some of you guys might know. If it was, it wasn't really mainstream. More like it is today. But yeah, so we're getting this thing assembled. Now you're probably wondering about the power supply. You know, this motherboard has this built-in power supply. It just takes 19 volts from a power brick, and it handles the rest. What I'm going to be doing is I'm using the shell of a micro ATX power supply. I'm going to get it assembled, stick a fan in there, and hook the fan up to the motherboard so that way it can cool the APU and the chipset, so it just pulls air through here and out the back, since this case otherwise does not have a system fan. So, it's a matter of putting this thing together. I'll show you guys the update, the results. Anyways, I'm going to be using the 2 terabyte TV storage drive out of Meteor Lux, I do believe. Because I'll go ahead and put in an optical drive. Doubt I ever use it, but I gotta fill this big space up here. No sense in using this big case if you're not going to put an optical drive in. So I'm going to put in an optical drive and a 2 terabyte hard drive for the OS and the DVR storage. Okay, everybody, take a look at that. Yeah, I guess I can say it's pretty much fully assembled. Just need to put the cover on the case. I have actually installed Windows on already while I was in the process of getting everything assembled. The only little minor issue I have with it is the power LED is not working. I think I wired it backwards, but yeah, it's no big deal. The hard disk LED works. That's the biggest thing I care about. So anyways, have a look at that. I slapped a basic SD reader in there because I didn't want to have an empty space in there. And due to this thing's proprietary design, you can't just simply snap in a cover. Other than that, the build went fairly well. Got a DVD burner in there. Now, as I mentioned, the audio jacks and the FireWire are not active on this due to the proprietary wiring of the front panel. Plus, this board does not have FireWire and it does not have optic out. It does have mic and headphone, but those, you know, your standard Realtek high definition audio, HC audio, pin out. Let's get you a good look at this thing. Now, I've actually found out what this actually is. This is a AMD E1 1200 APU. It's not an E300 like what's in the TiViBox Slim. This is much newer. This motherboard came out of a Windows 8 computer, so that gives you an idea. So we're talking at least 2012. So considerably newer, at least a year newer than the motherboard that's in the TiViBox Slim. This processor is obviously it has to be a better performing. And now these things do run a little bit warm. I noticed the heatsink does get pretty dang hot. But at the same time, you know, at least what I found out online, this platform, or at least the APU, is a notebook APU. It's intended for use in notebooks and netbooks. However, you'll find some of these lower end desktop motherboards that have them. The TDP, the TDP on this is like 18 watts. It doesn't put out that much heat, but since it is passive cooled, it does get quite warm. But it can handle it. According to CPU World, this APU can, the maximum operating temperature, get this, boiling point, 100°C. That's how hot this thing can get with, within its designed range. That is hot, very hot. So I mean, it's designed to be, it's designed to be able to run hot and handle it. So as you can see, I got the fake, knockoff power supply in there. What I did is I just simply installed a fan, 80mm fan. It pulls out. Kind of, in a sort of a way, I kind of wish I'd have had it pushing in on those heat sinks, but kind of want it to actually pull air throughout the entire machine. Now this thing shouldn't run too warm. I mean, there's not too much in there. But basically, there's your knockoff power supply. You see, there's no AC plug. It simply takes, a laptop adapter right there. So yeah, speaking of that laptop adapter, here's what I'm powering this with. It's a Toshiba laptop adapter, a 65-watt laptop adapter. So at least Toshiba laptops, there are some good use to them. When the laptops actually die, you can reuse the power adapter for other machines. So yeah, let's go ahead and start this up on camera. Why not? I have, if I didn't mention already, I already have installed Windows 7. I still need to do the graphics and sound drivers, but other than that, it's well set. It's good to go. Or at least, as the operating system goes, I'll still need to set up Windows Media Center, all that good stuff. We're doing this with one hand. Let's go ahead and start it up. We have a hard disk LED, which is blue. Nice color. This thing fast boots, and now it's already loading Windows. I did decide to go ahead and install just a simple 1TB hard drive and leave the TV storage drive in the Mid-Tower Deluxe. Decided to leave it in there because what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up that drive as a network share. And if I need to unload stuff off of this, I can do so. Just simply unload it and store it on there. Because Windows Media Center, you can set it up to where you can access recorder TV on other machines. Now in my case, since it's cable card, you can only access and play the files that were recorded with said machine. You can store them wherever, but you can only play them back on the machine that recorded them. So I can store those on the Mid-Tower Deluxe, but you play them back on here just fine. So as you can see, just a clean installed Windows. The only driver I installed really is the Ethernet driver. I still need to do the graphics and the sound drivers. So anyways, that's where we're at so far. I'm going to stop for now, but I'm going to continue building this thing later on. It runs very quiet too. Of course, there's only one fan in there, and it's throttled down, which I kind of don't like. I'd actually prefer that it be wide open. Anyways, that's where it is. So that is that's how things are going so far for this thing.